everyone. Good to be here. Hello. All right, so the title of my talk is Who Thinks When the Machine Decides? So think on that for a minute, but I'm going to kick off with a little story. So a few months ago, my 9-year-old daughter Coco came home with a project from school on Sky Brown, who's an amazing Olympic skateboarder. She's also an Olympic surfer, which is insane, and won bronze at age 13. And Coco's teacher had given her a bunch of research prompts, and she has seen me use ChatGPT and her dad and said, can we try it? Can we try it out? And I said, okay, let's try it together. It's an experiment. So we put in the prompts, and of course what came out very quickly were clean, perfect answers. And she had a visceral reaction. She leaned back and said, I don't like these answers. These aren't mine, these are ChatGPT. And so she basically was deeply unsatisfied that the machine did the thinking instead of her, just intrinsically. And so we pivoted and we did regular research. We watched videos, read some articles, discussed, and she put in her own original thoughts. And they were not perfect, but they were hers. And she was super proud because she did the work. And so that moment has stuck with me quite a bit because she intrinsically protected something that we might be quietly training out of the next generation. And that is the right to think and to struggle and have ownership over one's own thoughts. And here's the tension though, my daughter is in 3rd grade. So she's not yet overwhelmed with so many activities. She doesn't have this immense pressure to achieve, optimize, even get into college. And whatever her father and I do, we know that's coming. Because at Young Futures, we do a lot of listening to young people and research with teens. We listen to what's challenging about growing up in a tech-filled world, and then we fund solutions to help them. And we hear directly from them things like, it's not like I want to use AI for everything, but imagine that most of the kids in my class use AI for a paper and I don't. I'm effectively penalized for that. So that's not laziness. And that's, we can debate about cheating, but that's frankly survival in a high-pressure achievement culture. But when we look more closely about how young people are using AI, the story is a lot more complicated. And they're definitely not all cheating. We recently did a report with an awesome organization called Sergo Health based on a study of 13 to 24-year-olds across the country about how young people are using AI. And it's an amazing report. You should check it out because it really starts to identify archetypes of users. And so one of the archetypes is this group called the worried strivers. These are the high-pressure, high-achievement kids. 88% of them report immense pressure to get good grades. Over half of them say that regularly when they use AI, it leads them to just ask for answers rather than help think things through. And 9 out of 10 said when they work with AI, they're unsure if an idea is even theirs. So that is the erosion of cognitive ownership, and that is major. But the story's more complicated than that. It's not all doom and gloom. We also saw in the same study that Black youth are 3.6 times more likely to fall into a high hope, high skill building group. And these young people are heavily using AI for creativity, for opportunity, for learning. So AI is a tool for mobility for a lot of young people, and that's something that we have to keep in mind. So the question isn't whether or not young people should use AI, because they obviously already are. We've all seen the stats around that. But they're also almost always using it alone, sometimes in secret, and without the help of trusted adults in their lives. That has to change, so what is the answer? It's a lot easier said than done, but we do know that one-size-fits-all policies will fail them. They flatten them into one monolithic group. We know we need to give age-appropriate access, so my daughter shouldn't be on her own on ChatGPT, I know that. But there needs to be scaffolding at age-appropriate times. We need to have tools with guidance that reflect the many lived experiences of teens. Where they're coming from and how they're using AI really matters. And of course, arming the trusted adults. Because here's what's at stake. Schools are not just content delivery systems. And AI is changing culture really rapidly. It's getting involved in everyday decisions kids are making. We heard from a teen a crazy little anecdote that, oh yeah, my friend and I had this huge fight. We couldn't figure out who was right. So we just put it in GPT and it decided for us. So these things are happening every single day. Schools are the first place young people are supposed to practice being a good citizen. It's where they learn to form arguments, weigh evidence, be part of a community, have struggle, and take responsibility for their thinking. And that is civic preparation. The developmental window for building those capacities is definitely not infinite. And if we miss those critical years for learning to tolerate friction, developing independent reasoning, and having confidence in their own ideas, we're not just going to have weaker students, we're going to have more fragile citizens. So with so much at stake, AI literacy cannot just mean how to prompt or manage an agent or be prepared for the workforce. It absolutely has to mean staying safe, and it also has to mean teaching young people to work with powerful tools and maintain their own peace of mind. They need to ask things like, who built this? When should I use this? How do I know what's mine? And we have a narrow window, and it's not a window to panic. It's not a window to ban, but it's a window to design differently, to protect thinking as a developmental milestone, and to ensure that young people don't just inherit AI, they learn to lead with it. Because when the machine decides, the most important answer is not who's correct or whether it's correct. It's whether a kid can still finish something hard, look up and say, I did that. Thank you.